If you guys really want to make sure your plants grow and thrive during the wintertime, stick around because these are pretty simple tips to do that you can replicate at home. I'm back. Hello, hello. It's been a while. I've been doing repot videos that are quiet ASMR. Some of you guys like those. I'm glad. I think this is a good view. Do you guys like this view? Let me know in the comments if it's a good one. Today I just wanted to jump on here quickly, do kind of a short video and just share some quick tips for being able to keep your plants growing and healthy during the wintertime. The biggest tip I have is try and simulate pretty much consistent climate in your household. And because we live indoors, it's relatively easy if you have the right tools. That's it. Thanks for watching, guys. Just kidding. Okay, so the first thing is light. Obviously, the biggest important factor for plants is light. The more sunlight they have, the more energy they have to produce leaves, get stronger roots, things of that sort. The one tip I have is get yourself several bright lights. They don't have to be grow lights. As long as you're giving them the brightness that they need to grow is what matters. And the biggest tip I have is get yourself a light meter. If you really want to get into the intricacies and the in-depth pieces of how bright some plants like the light to be. Um, Brands like Barina, Sansi, and Govi are pretty good with plant lights in my experience. Those are the three I like, but you can use a regular light bulb. It doesn't have to be plant light. It can just be a regular light bulb. But these light bulbs that designed to help with plants, so they tend to focus their light a little more because some plants just need a little more focused light. So if you get yourself a light meter, make sure it's an LED one. This is one I like to use because it's designed to pick up light levels from LEDs because LEDs tend to focus light directly on it. They're more unidirectional versus old school incandescent, which kind of do like this glowy, soft glow across the space. I would advise lumens above 800 for most of the plants. If you have very bright grow lights, it's not going to be a problem. For example, let's see if you guys see back here, there's an alocasia mellow here, right here, and she's under these Barina T lights, the bars. She's getting about 550 lumens there, and she's fine. It's an alocasia, and they naturally grow in the shade, canopies of trees. They get a lot of bright light, but not direct sunlight, which is what damages their leaves. So for her, that's good. Orchid, she's getting a ton of light from these grow lights up here because they need sunlight to bloom. Orchids grow on trees, they tend to grow higher up, so they get more sunlight. So for flower production, plants that like that or plants that like variegation, brighter light is better. My lights turn on at about 7 a.m. and then the brightest of the light starts at about 7:30 so that they go up so that I'm not blasted with light and my eyes just freak out. And then at about 4 p.m., this shelf turns off. I'm not sure why Barina does 4, 9, and 14 hours. So, Barina, if you're listening, let me know, please. What's the reason for that timing? If anyone knows that, drop it that note in the comments. I'm really curious about that. But this goes from 7 to 4, and that's 9 hours. And it's plenty. I have several propagations on here that are growing. Like, look at this pothos. She's tied to a pole, but she's got some pretty big leaves right here, and she's under this shelf, and she's been having a great time, and I've started to have her trail up. So light level matters for that, and it tricks your plants into thinking, oh, the sunlight's pretty great. So that's why plants that grow around tropical areas around the planet, along the equator, because the light level's pretty much consistent throughout the year. The plants are always green and lush and growing because the light levels don't change for them. Higher north, more south, it does change. So light level covered. The next one is humidity. You want to make sure that your humidity levels are pretty consistent. For me, 40 to 60% has been great. I have a smart humidifier. You don't need that. Just get yourself a regular one. But I will stress, get yourself a hydrometer, something that measures temperature and humidity so that you know what is the temperature and humidity in your space. So that if you're wondering, oh, is it too dry in here for my calatheas? If you have them, because we may love a plant and get it and not realize that maybe we love a certain condition that they cannot survive in comfortably. They'll make it, but they won't thrive. So 40 to 60 has been my range, and the hydrometer can tell you, oh, it's not humid enough for me, for them, but it is for me. So it's also a balance of like, is this something you're willing to do? Is trade off more humidity that maybe you're a little uncomfortable with, but that your plants like if you love a certain plant. Another thing that I think about is whenever I have too much humidity over time, I think about the risk of mold. So I used to live in Hawaii, and mold was very common because the air stayed humid too long in some areas in the island and people live there. So if you have a lot of cloth and fabric, like mold can attach and grow there in spores. So you have to frequently wash your sheets and dry them because you want to prevent that, because obviously mold over time is not good for us. So that's why I like my my humidity range to fluctuate, because as it gets drier, it dries out the air enough that the mold cannot stick. And then it gets humid again so that the plants don't feel like they're having a hard time. So the range is pretty consistent. It's not always 60%, it's not always 40%, but the range is consistent. It's always 40 to 60. Yeah, if you want to work smarter, get a smart humidifier, get a smart hydrometer, make sure they can communicate with each other, and you can program it and say, hey, I want you to turn off at 60% humidity. Okay. And then it turns off. And then it'll kick on when it gets drier, and then it runs, which is great. And also, you sleep better when the air is a little more humid because it lubricates your throat. So anyone who ever wakes up in the morning during the winter and you get like that dry feeling, it's because the air is drier during the winter. So I don't have that issue anymore because it's a lot more humid in here in the evening time. So I sleep more comfortably too. So there's a two-parter right there for you. Your plants are happier, and also you sleep better when it's more humid. And not all humidifiers are equal. Make sure they're sized properly. So if you have a small bedroom, like my bedroom here, I think it's like, I can't do math, 150 square feet maybe, this bedroom. So my humidifier is a 7 liter one. It's sized for a home, small home, but because it's programmed, it doesn't run all the time and it makes the space really humid. So that's one thing to consider. They have really large ones. So if you're someone who has a planned home and you have a lot of plants, you can get multiple humidifiers, or you can get those large ones that you can put in one space. My advice though is to manage all of that, I would advise get yourself a smart humidifier so it's more easily manageable, because at some point, some of us have so many plans because we love them, but we run the risk of them dying if we have too many and we forget. So, and for me, I'm too stubborn to let them die. So I know my limit. Like every time I buy a plant, I'm like, I want you, but can I actively give you the attention that I give everyone else? So that's one thing to be mindful of. But I don't want to get off topic there. So, humidity, light. Watering's not that big of an issue if you're simulating conditions pretty consistent in your space. Watering for your plants should be pretty consistent in terms of timing. Now, I don't believe in watering schedules. I don't advise that you water your plants every day for every 7 days, every 10 days, because your temperature and conditions can change. My bedroom is about 69 to about 74 degrees during the winter is when the temperature stays. So that's a 5-degree difference. It does make a difference. So if it's ever cooler times of the year, my room stays a little cooler. The watering will be a little less, right? During warmer times in the winter, and I mean like 73, 74, a little more watering, maybe a day or two. It's not big of an impact, but it's how I work. And always, when it's cooler, water less. When it's warmer, water more. And also the type of medium you use. So if it's a spongier medium, that also impacts how long water can be retained. Use a chunkier mix, things of that sort. For me, I use the weight method now because a lot of my plants are now in the cocoa perlite mix with pumice and bark. It's spongy, it retains moisture, so I just lift it up. And if it feels heavy, I leave it alone. If it feels light, I give it a water. And it's also over time, oh, you're a snake plant. You don't need to get water right now. You can wait a day or two. Oh, you're a calathea. You need to not be this dry. Let me give you water. or your leaves are telling me. So soil, I wouldn't really worry about it during this time. I don't think it's a factor in terms of keeping your plants healthy or think are always growing. But I have plants in here that are still growing. It is right now late January, and right now it's about 58 degrees outside, so it's pretty cool. It's about 73 degrees in here. It's about 60% humidity in my bedroom, almost 74 degrees. Here, I'll show you this hydrometer. I don't think it shows up backwards. It probably will because I'm using my front facing camera. Well, my plants are actively growing. I have my Calathea rufibarba here on the floor, having the best time of her life. She's got so many growth points. I have my orbifolia. I showed you my pothos, my philodendron, my pink print, my white wizard, my Birkin. My orchids are blooming orchids in the winter. That's something I'm very proud of because they are getting the light they need. And oh, one thing I didn't say about my water is I never change it up in terms of what's in it. It's always a diluted fertilizer, it's always a water treatment because I have the calatheas and they're sensitive to tap water. I did start throwing prop drops. Just to it's a very diluted solution of prop drops. It's just a slight rooting hormone in liquid form that helps plants grow more roots more effectively when you're water propagating. I've added a light solution to my water container with my fertilizer so that it encourages the plants to produce hardier roots. And by extension, faster root growth means the plant gets more a little more crowded and they feel stronger and more willing to produce more leaves. So it's pretty great. You get a lot, goes a long way in the thing. This is the prop drops. This is the liquid one. I've got some philodendron micans propagating. You see all those roots growing. It's been in there about 3 weeks with the prop drops, which is pretty great. So it's useful. But anyways, I'm getting sidetracked here because I like to share with you guys and I yap away. That's one of the things about me as a plant, as a content person is I have a hard time focusing on a topic. I'll kind of start to but if you guys like that, let me know. But yeah, that'll do it for me. If you guys have any comments, any concerns, any questions, any corrections for me, drop them in the comments. Again, Barina, please let me know why you do 4, 9, and 14 for lights. I'm really curious. I am maybe for me it's a weird thing that I'm used to seeing even hours, so 9 throws me off. Um, but yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.